Haters. Man of Steel. I'm back. It's seemingly every day that even the so-called haters and the so-called detractors of Man of Steel and BVS, 5 years after Man of Steel and roughly 2 after BVS, they are some of the most discussed and frequently brought up movies. And like I pointed out so graciously in one of my prior videos, I feel that most of these individuals are secretly fans in denial due to the fact that they can't stop mentioning or bringing up the movies, or the fact that they get so butthurt when someone is talking positively about either of these movies. For you see, sometimes people get tired of having to explain the same thing over and over. Having said that, I want to shout out all of the people who have and will continue to defend Man of Steel, BVS, and director, filmmaker Zack Snyder. For your fight is not in vain, and your opinions matter, no matter what they try to tell you. And this video, ladies and gentlemen, will be covering none other than a gentleman by the name of J. Oliva. We are seemingly once again at the discussion of Superman should not have killed Zod, even though Zod was about to decimate an innocent family. We are seemingly at the discussion that Zack Snyder somehow made a poor decision in letting Cal kill Zod, even though had Zod killed the family, I'm pretty sure the outrage would have been even more tremendous. And I don't mean tremendous in a good way. We are seemingly at a discussion of this shouldn't have happened, but how about we do it this way? This way coming from a person that is just someone online and not a filmmaker. Not a filmmaker that has done research on the character like the filmmaker has. And it starts with this user, Ken_22 at the main man 112. And he goes on to say, you forgot the neck-breaking Superman who acts like helping people is a chore. Batman who brands people like slave. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be like a slave, but anyway. Don't get me started on Lex. His movies got bad reviews before, but the hate for Snyder truly started once he brought his poor sensibilities to DC and hurt these characters. Really? And see, this is why I'm a fan of J. Oliva. Jay expertly and graciously goes on to say, by the way, he broke Zod's neck to save everyone. How else could he have stopped Zod from killing? Wow, I really don't know. I really don't know. I want to know. Fly away so Zod will be alone to kill everyone? Put him into a supervillain prison? Ask him nicely to stop? Superman had no choice. Wow. Wow. You know, again, this all makes so much sense given the context of the scene. Just like he had no choice versus Doomsday in the comics. And then the user, the main man 112, goes on to say, why do we need a neck break? Superman beats or outsmart. I'm pretty sure once again that's supposed to be outsmarts, but whatever. Zod all the time without breaking his neck. In an interview, Snyder said the neck break was something he added as Nolan was against it, which means there was an option not to have a neck break, but he put it in anyway. Well, yeah, number one, because at the end of the day, it's Zack Snyder's movie. Number two, like J. Oliva said, what else was Superman supposed to do? What else could Superman have done in that moment? Better yet, Why is this even an issue? When in the first Iron Man film, Iron Man went overseas and missiled a bunch of people. Yet we don't talk about that. And that's not a diss to Iron Man, because I'm a fan of Iron Man and the MCU, but just a prime example. Nobody bitches about that, but we seemingly have a problem with Superman doing the right thing and ending Zod to save an innocent family, given the context. It's all about choice, the main man, 112. You're choosing to see Zack's decision from the wrong perspective because you think it should be a certain way. You think the scene shouldn't be that way. But given all that has occurred in the movie at the time, and given the rampage that Zod was on in the movie, there was no other way, realistically speaking, that Superman could have stopped Zod. There was no other way. He would have had to have killed him. Jay then goes on to say, in the comics world, let me say that again. In the comics world, there are multiple ways to defeat a supervillain, none of which exists in the Man of Steel world. Let me repeat that whole sequence again. In the comics world, there are multiple ways to defeat a supervillain, none of which exists in the Man of Steel world. Imagine if a super being appeared today. Do we have the tech to combat him/her? Nope. And there's also no magic, alien tech, or other supers to fight him. And again, this goes back to Man of Steel taking a realistic approach to bringing Superman to the big screen, as opposed to the Boy Scout or the perfect, can't do no wrong Superman of before. This is all what it boils down to. You have me and millions of others saying that given the situation at hand, given the context of that Superman was, fighting Zod at the end like they were, Zod pretty much chose his own fate. And he said it himself, either Cal dies or Zod dies. And as the good saying goes, good must always triumph over evil. Which is why, ladies and gentlemen, Zod's neck snap made perfect sense. And you would think that the argument would end there, but sadly no. This Ken_22 goes on to say, well, the rules of the world and tech in it are written by creators. Which I'm sure that's supposed to be THE, but he's a dumbass. The skill of a good filmmaker's, Jesus God Christ, he can't write, of a good filmmaker is to make it plausible to the audience. Let me stop you right there. Once again, I keep repeating myself. It's amazing, and it's both frustrating that fans like myself have to keep repeating ourselves. You're saying the skill of a good filmmaker is to make it plausible to the audience. Zack made the movie plausible. Everything from start to finish was plausible. That's part of the reason I always mention the realistic approach. Zod wanted to cause mass genocide on Earth to rebuild Krypton. The United States Army and Air Force and, military couldn't stop Zod and his army. So naturally, given the fact that these superpowered beings are duking it out any which way, there's going to be some destruction. There's going to be some buildings collapsing. Again, Zod said that it's either going to be him or Cal. So Zod was ready to die about this shit. So how can you honestly sit there and suggest, given how your sentence is written, that it's not plausible? Anyway, Superman is an alien that can fly and shoot lasers from eye. You can write a way into defeat Zod without betraying the character. Yeah, you can also write using correct punctuation and using words in the right context. But obviously you can't, because you're writing off of emotion. again, ladies and gentlemen, my response to this is the situation at hand was dire. There were going to be consequences if Superman did not intervene the way that he did. Superman didn't have time to go around and leap from building to building and say, are you okay? Here, let me smile and look at you with a smile on my face. Okay, you good? Let me go fight Zod. No, he was fighting Zod. He was fighting Zod. Zod was wanting to destroy us all. What about that doesn't make sense? What about that isn't plausible? Superman needed to save more people? What was he doing by fighting Zod? Zod wanted to destroy the Earth. Zod was wanting to kill everybody to rebuild the Earth. Once he saw that he couldn't do that, Zod was ready to destroy us all by any means necessary. Superman is a superhuman, being the good person that he is. So what else is he supposed to do? Zod was trying to decimate this family. Clark was trying to stop him, but he couldn't. It's all about choice. It made perfect sense. That's how these things would happen, given that a being like Zod and a being like Superman were here on Earth. That's the reason why I always bring up that Man of Steel takes a realistic approach. This isn't the Boy Scout Superman. This isn't the Christopher Reeve Superman. This isn't the Superman from TV. Jesus. Jay then goes on to say, the rules of the Man of Steel world was present day. Wow. Not a made-up timeline, but today with our tech and weapons. Did you not understand the premise? What if aliens showed up today, but one of them fought for us because he grew up here and loved to be human? Let me repeat that very slowly for those of you that say, oh, well, you should have written it this way, or oh, Superman could have done something else. What if aliens showed up today, but one of them fought for us because he grew up here and loved to be human? What if aliens showed us today, but one of them fought for us because he grew up here and loved to be human? What about that doesn't make any sense? Do you honestly believe that if a Superman existed in the real world, he would have, and a Zod came to Earth and said, you know what, I want to destroy the entirety of the Earth and rebuild Krypton? How do you think that, why would you think that there would be enough time for Superman to run around smiling and run around being a Boy Scout? And I want to give a special shout out to this Twitter user, Soham, at Butterbar. He goes on to say something that is pretty freaking obvious. Batman branding people wasn't supposed to be something that was cool. The whole point of that was to show how brutal and cruel he had gotten over the years. His arc in BVS ends with him threatening to brand Lex, but deciding not to because he's a changed person. Given the context of BVS, does that also not make perfect sense? You know? It's really, it's amazing that movies like Man of Steel and BVS still bring up discussions, but certain things just, you have to think logically. And with a movie like Man of Steel and BVS, you can apply logic. Now, again, they aren't your typical superhero films, and I appreciate that Zack made them the way that he did, because, regardless of whichever side you're on, they are being discussed. But more to the point, a lot of people were saying that, oh, Superman's a mass murderer, or oh, this Superman doesn't like being Superman, etc., etc. It's a burden. People don't realize there's a burden to being a superhero. There's a, there's consequences, good or bad, that come with being a superhero. And as we saw in Man of Steel, it all boils down to choice. It goes to what Jonathan Kent said. Why am I repeating myself? How many times have I said these exact same thoughts? Given the context that, given how the situation was presented, there was no other way to stop Zod. There's no way that Superman could have flied up in the air with Zod and stopped the beams from flying, because the beams out of Zod's eyes would have easily just hit everybody and everything, including the building that they were in. So that probably most likely would have killed the family. Then I'm pretty sure y'all will be saying, well, Superman shouldn't have pulled Zod up in the air. You know, and this whole thing about, you know, you guys dissing Zack Snyder, talking about him like you know him personally, you know, some of you all really seriously need help. You know, if you don't like movies, fine. If you don't like a certain movie, fine. But why are you attacking a person you don't even know? One of the most generous and most gracious men that, you know, people that have worked with him personally, and people that have, you know, spoke with him personally, have repeatedly commended him and complimented him for being a nice individual. You know, it really needs to stop. And I know it's not going to, sadly, because this is the internet, because of the internet. But, you know, at the end of the day, the decision made perfect sense. You can say, well, I would have written it this way, or it should have been done this way. Well, yeah, that's why you just supposedly read comics and don't make movies. That's why you just get on Twitter. You know? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, J. Olivia just buried another body. Thank you all so much once again for tuning in. And as always, hit the subscribe, like button, and leave a comment down below, as I'm sure a lot of you will. And I'll see you all next time.